Hello everyone, welcome back to the second video on this channel, and this video is going to be all about this nature. I'm here in Wonthaggi camping at my dad's friend's farm, except they're also my friends as well. And so the guy Pete, he's going to be explaining a lot of these native plants and little bugs and insects here on the farm. And let's take it over to Pete. Peter Baird.
Okay, hi, I'm Pete, and I'm here with Laz Fishboy Lewis on our property near Wonthaggi. Not really a farm, more of a bush block. Was once a farm. My dad bought it back in 1972, but it's transformed back into its original bushland. So this kind of bush is called damp sands herb-rich woodland, and it used to be what was around most of eastern Melbourne before it became a city. What the Aborigines used to live in. It's very rich in flora and fauna. So we're going to have a bit of an explore today and just see what we come across. So we have no script, but if we start walking there'll be heaps of stuff that we come across. Going to follow me, Laz?
Yeah, let's do it.
Down on the ground here, Laz.
Yeah.
You can see we've got this old sandy soil. So it's just basically leached out sand. It's got a bit of colour in it just from the organic matter from these plants that have been colonised and been growing here, so that puts a bit of nutrient in the soil.
Cool.
But what this originally was, and we'll be able to see it when we go out there, all this sand came from when Bass Strait used to be a sand plain like 500,000 years ago, and all the sand, this is during the ice ages when Bass Strait was dry, or large parts of it were dry, all the sand blew up here onto the mainland, and it formed kind of ridges and gullies that created the topography of this farm and gave us this kind of soil. And here we've got a bull ant nest. Bull ants love this sandy soil, and they are one of the most ancient forms of ant, or the most ancient. They live in a colony, but they go out foraging on their own.
Yeah.
And so we all know bull ants. Most of us have been unfortunate enough to be stung by it. There's one that we cued earlier. There they are, two of them meeting each other. So they're related to jumper ants, and there's a jumper ant nest just up here a bit. So this is the drama and danger part of this video. And here we are, just sort of flaunting with danger right here, watching all these guys come out of their hole. They're probably checking out what these vibrations all about out here.
Yeah.
One thing about bull ants is they have no sense of scale. They'll arc up at anything. It doesn't matter whether you're a 1,000-foot tall human or another bull ant. They'll arc up and try and have a go at you. And here's their close relatives. They're up here somewhere. We have the jumper ants, which are smaller, but they probably have a nastier sting. And so the sting is formic acid for both of them, and same in stinging nettles as well. Now, there's one here somewhere. There's some other little ants. No. Oh, there we are. There's our jumper ant there. You can see his orange pincers and his blue-grey body. There we are, there's the entrance. So these are two of the ants that we don't want to be stung by. A bit of Aboriginal cultural plants. Here we've got the Lamandra longifolia, which is this tussock here, which had a few uses. You can see I'm trying to pull this out, and it's pretty tough. So this was once it was soaked, this was great for weaving. So we could weave that into rope for nets or whatever.
Yeah.
And once it's soaked, it's more pliable, and you can soak it together. You can weave it together. And this is a seed head, not mature yet, but this was also crushed up and used as a grain. So you could make cakes out of this, which you could store And coming up through here we have some tetragonia or bower spinach, New Zealand spinach, which you can just eat like that. Related to warrigal greens, which is commercially grown. And sailors used to use this way back in the day to ward off scurvy, because it gives you a bit of a dose of vitamin C if you've got no other fresh vegetables available. And it grows right along the coastline.
Ooh.
Okay. This beautiful tree here, so just give a bit of a film of the shape of it, Laz, it's very nice. So this is a coast Banksia or a Banksia integrifolia, and when the flowers are new or when the flowers are giving out nectar, the local Aborigines used to soak them in water, and it would create a sweet drink that you could drink as like a cordial or a sort of a sweet summer drink. So this is another food plant.
Beautiful.
And here behind us, right here we have the coastal beard heath, or leucopogon. We've got a couple of ripe berries here. So here we are, Les. So when they're white, they're ripe, and they taste like a honeydew melon. So have a taste of that, Laz.
Okay.
So have a taste, Laz, and tell me what you think it tastes like.
Very sweet. Tiny bit bitter. But I like it.
Yeah.
Tastes good.
But you have to have a lot of them to get a full tummy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this tree here is a Eucalyptus Prioriana, or a coastal manigum. And you can see it has this great sort of furrowed bark down the bottom, and with lots of little nooks and crannies and layers for things to live in. So if we look in there, we can see we've got an ant nest, and we've got a whole lot of ants living in there. We often find wolf spiders and huntsmen and all sorts of things living in here. So this is a bit of a pantry for various animals, and particularly birds, to live on. So we have a little bird here called a crested shrike-tit. Looks a bit like Elvis Presley, has that kind of haircut, you know, and has a yellow jacket. So look up crested shrike-tit, we're unlikely to see one today. But it has a really powerful beak, and you can hear it just tearing at the bark, tearing away, until there's a spider's egg there. No, it wasn't. But it will just keep tearing away until it finds something, and it can actually hear things in the bark, so it'll listen to them, and then it will tear away at the bark until it finds things. We have another bird called a white-throated tree creeper, and what that does is it works its way up the trunk in a sort of spiral pattern, and it has a tiny little pincer-like beak, and it will just pick things off the surface. So there's often ants on trees and lerp and things like that, and it will just pick things off as it goes. That's its specialty. Then we have the yellow robin, and what it will use this tree for, okay, it will just use it as a perch, and what it feeds on is stuff in the leaf litter down here. So what it does, again, it has eyes to the front of its head, but they're rounded, so it has quite a wide field of vision, very good big eyes, so it can see well in the dark of the understory and under the canopy of the trees. And it will just perch on here and look for something to eat down there, so and then it'll dive down and grab it. And as we move up the tree, and these are just examples, we have another bird called a pardalote. There's a spotted pardalote and the striated pardalote. Spotted one's got spots, striated's got sort of uneven striping on it. Very pretty bird, yellow, red, black and white.
Ooh.
And what it does is it lives on the outer leaves of the trees. It actually picks scale insects and what we call lerp, which we'll see at another tree later on, which was also called manna, and it's the sugary substance that's secreted by the scale insects, and it's very sugary and high in energy. So something else. And then we have a bird called the grey fantail, which lots of people have seen, and it uses the tree in a different way. So what it does is it actually just perches on the upper branches and then flies out and catches insects on the wing. So its specialty, it has a fantail which which sticks up like that, which means it can turn really quickly in the air, so it can maneuver and follow insects turn for turn and pick them out of the air. So there's 5 different birds there that use this tree in a completely different way. So they've got each got a niche, so they're not really in competition. They've found a way to use the environment differently, so they don't really fight with each other for food because they specialise in different food sources, even though they use the same territory and exactly the same tree. So that's how things adapt. Okay, so we have the restless flycatcher and the satin flycatcher, and they come from as far away as New Guinea, and they're actually smaller than a willy wagtail. So if you count for their body length, that's a very long way to come. But they love this sort of bush, and most of this has disappeared, so this is a really important little remnant around here. They come back every year. Okay, so here we are at the wetland. And this was a natural wetland, but we did put a dam wall in here and dig it out of it to create some permanent water, because it was what's called an ephemeral wetland, which is one that comes and goes. So it used to be just here in winter, and in summer it would completely dry out.
Yeah.
So we wanted some permanent water, but we like our ephemeral wetlands as well, because there are lots of things that like an environment that saturates and then dries out. A lot of plants and animals like that, and we'll look at some of those later on. So, but then we wanted some permanent water as well. So of course there are lots of birds that like it around here. We have things like crakes and rails, which are little sort of waterfowl or hen type birds that live around the edges of wetlands and in amongst reeds and all that sort of thing. They're called gannials collectively. And of course we have ducks, and we have herons, and we have cormorants, and just the usual sort of water birds. A lot of native water plants. This is a reed called Phragmites, which is common across southern Australia. We'll see it over there, but there's what we call yellow marsh flower that's found its way in here. There's water ribbons over there. There's also Kumbungi. There's a native and introduced version, also known as bulrush. And that's another bush food that you can actually eat the root of it. It's pretty nice if you get the fresh young shoots. Tastes a bit coconutty and a bit sort of crispy, like wouldn't say it's celery, more like bamboo shoot or something like that.
Delicious.
So here Laz is filming the diggings of the wombat. So they're after roots. They're down there eating plant roots. And of course everywhere they stop, as we can see here, they also want to mark their territory. So if you see wombat droppings around the place, which you often do, that's a wombat, male wombat, marking out its territory. Usually while it has something to eat.
Disgusting. Continuing the jet.
Just film for a bit, and you can stick a bit of it